Hey guys, this is Joe from Analog Archive, and I'm back with another video. Today's video is going to be my vinyl finds from the month of June. It's going to include one record that I had gotten from Record Store Day from the June drop, but I kind of had to unfortunately buy it online due to some kind of confusion with it, so I'll explain that in just a minute. And also, I had a big trip last weekend to Rochester. I just finished school, and so I took my family to visit my parents who live in Rochester. And of course, anytime I go, those that watch my video know that I love the record stores around there. And then along with being in Rochester, I also took the opportunity to take a trip out to Buffalo, which is about an hour and a half west of Rochester. So I was able to find some great records there as well. So got a lot to show. This is probably the largest amount of records that I've picked up in a pretty short time. I think I counted it was like about 15 records in like a 3 or 4 day span. So got a lot to show, so we'll get to that quick. First one is Multiplication, Eric Gale. I'd actually gotten this one from a previous trip to Rochester earlier in June. I had shown another Eric Gale solo record called Ginseng Woman. And this one was, I think this one actually predated that. This one's from 77. I think that one was from 79. I've already talked about Eric Gale. He was with the group Stuff, this great jazz funk group in the late 70s. And this is another great one. Really enjoyed it. I think I like Ginseng Woman a little bit more than this one, but this has a very similar feel and just a great one overall. So this is another great Eric Gale record. The Record Store Day one that I just talked about a minute ago is Full Court Press, Calvin Keys. I've really enjoyed Calvin Keys albums ever since I discovered his black jazz albums last year. The first one I picked up was Shaunique, which was his first black jazz release. And then in January, I picked up his second one, Proceed with Caution. Again, both of those on black jazz. And then this one was an album that he did in the mid 80s. I think this is from like 85 or 86. Difficult to find the original press. They go quite frequently on Discogs when they do show up for over $100, $150. Wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility, but this is the Record Store Day one that was supposed to come out in April, but because of COVID, other manufacturing issues, just like kind of a lot of other records nowadays, it got pushed to the June drop. But then right before the Record Store Day date, I think it was June 18th, a few days before, it all of a sudden disappeared from the Record Store Day site. So I didn't even really go out on Record Store Day in June because this was really the only one that I really wanted, and if that wasn't going to be available, I wasn't going to line up early to find that there was nothing. Well, come to find out after, some people on Instagram had posted. I also saw one of the stores in Rochester, Record Archive, had shown in their flip-through video that they had gotten a few copies of this. So the company that put this out, Tidal Waves Music, showed on their site that there were some distribution issues with it. So there were some stores that were not getting their orders like they should have, and that they were delayed for a few weeks. And I did actually call one of the stores in Rochester, and they said that July 1st was when they were going to get them. But I didn't want to wait because I didn't want to risk the possibility of that not actually happening, where they didn't actually get any. And so I bought this on Discogs, and so happy to get this. But again, just a weird situation with Record Store Day stuff. I think it was a similar situation with the Art Blakey one. Some stores got it, some didn't, but that also disappeared on the Record Store Day website. So don't exactly know what happened with that, but happy to have gotten that. Next one is Hair and Fangs. This is Dennis Coffey Trio. I believe this originally came out And correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I think this was early 70s, like 72 or 73. Um, and included Dennis Coffey guitar, Lyman Woodard is on organ, and Andrew Smith is on the drums. And then there's a few players that appear on just a few tracks on the B side. Melvin Davis on drums on a few. Bob Babbitt is on the bass. And then Tony Newton is on the bass on a few tracks. So kind of an early 70s, like jazz, funk, jazz rock type feel. This is a reissue, I think, from the early 2000s. On Discogs, there wasn't a release year, but some people had put in the notes that they think it was from like the 2000s. Haven't had a chance to listen to this in full, but I did kind of do a few needle drops before I purchased it at the bop shop, and it sounded really good. So instead of paying like the $600 to $800 for an original, this was like $20. So great one. Always have enjoyed Dennis Coffey, and great one to find. So that's Hair and Fangs. Next few are some kind of more just funk type stuff. So this is Slave, The Hardness of the World. This is from the late 70s, 1977. Just a great kind of funky album. A lot of vocals on it as well, but just a real nice groove to it. So pretty cheap as well. So that's Slave. And then the next one, this is Mass Production. This is Believe. Really, really enjoyed this one. A great funk type sounding album. This is from 77 as well on the Cotillion label. It's got a few tracks with some female vocals on it as well. And just overall, really enjoyed this one. So this is Believe, Mass Production. Some of them I'll go through a little bit quicker, some cheaper ones. Next one, this is The Love Unlimited Orchestra, Rhapsody in White, arranged and conducted by Barry White. Pretty cheesy. I think I heard on the radio one of the tracks, the closing track, Love's Theme. And just really liked the sound. Nothing too fancy about it, but it was a cool kind of groove again to the album. Just another cheap one. So really it started kind of getting into more of the funky stuff. If it has a nice groove to it, I'm really always glad to pick them up. So this is a cheap one as well. This one I found at a antique store in Rochester. This is CJ and Co. It's called Devil's Gun. This was on the Westbound label from 77 as well. And just real nice groove again to this real nice funky sound. This was cheap. I think this was like $12 or something. Really nice condition. This was the only one, unfortunately, I found at the antique place, but just a cool one. You know, I especially where the stores that I go to in Rochester, in terms of the antique type places, you usually find a lot of the same type stuff, especially when it comes to jazz and things like that, where you're finding a lot of the big band or just the real easy to find stuff that you always see. But it was nice to see this one. Again, pretty cheap as well. That's CJ and Co. Devil's Gun. This next one actually played into something I found that I'll show in just a little bit, but this is The Many Facets of Roger. This is Roger Troutman. And this is just a solo album of his from 1981. Similar to the kind of the Barry White one. This is just a nice, like, groovy funk type session. Nothing too incredible on it, but again, a nice, just danceable type album. And again, I really enjoy those no matter what, really. Next one, the next few are ones that I got actually from the Bob Shop on the last trip. Some of them that I showed as well were from that as well, but went in, really didn't have much in mind that I was looking for, and I just kind of went through the main jazz bins. This one caught my eye. This is Catch Me, Joe Pass. This is on the Pacific Jazz label. This is an original mono press. It's got Joe Pass on the guitar. Claire Fisher is on the piano and organ. Albert Stinson is on the bass. Colin Bailey is on the drums. And then on a few of the tracks, you've got Ralph Pena on the bass and Larry Bunker on the drums. Just a real nice sound to it. Hard bop type session, West Coast jazz as well. Kind of influence to it. Obviously being Pacific Jazz. Became familiar with Joe Pass through the Tone Poet that had come out a few months ago. I actually did not pick that up, even though I was looking forward to it, because I heard there's a lot of manufacturing problems with it. Warping, there was kind of distortion is what people were describing on it. People weren't sure if it was because of the master tapes themselves, or if it was just the kind of manufacturing of this newer pressing. But I didn't have any other Joe Pass in the collection. I really wanted to find some of his early stuff on Pacific Jazz. So when I saw this, was really glad to grab that. So that's Catch Me, Joe Pass. This next one is a great one. I've never seen this. It actually goes by another title. The original at least does. This is Sonny Rollins, and this is Three Giants. This has Clifford Brown, Max Roach, Richie Powell, George Morrow. So you just got a really great quintet lineup. This is originally from 50. This is probably from like 57, I would say. I'm not exactly sure the exact year. The original was called Sonny Rollins Plus 4, and it had this, I think it was like a red cover to it. This is the reissue. This is from 64. This is on the blue Trident label, but it still has the RVG stamp. I saw last summer the opportunity to buy an original of it, but it was like $1,000 because it was like a near mint copy. And I just, at the time, I didn't have the money to be able to get that, and I really wasn't sure if I wanted to spend that. I was not familiar with this being the reissue, but again, when I saw this, I really wanted it. I mean, it was just, I absolutely love Clifford Brown. Sonny Rollins, this is early Sonny Rollins, which I really actually gravitate more so compared to some of his stuff in the 60s. This is just really raw, really early stuff, and was really happy to find this. So this is Three Giants. Next one, talked about this artist before. This is Tal Farlow. This is an album that he did on Norgran. So this is Norman Granz, one of his early labels, along with right around the time before he consolidated Norgran and Clef into Verve in 56. This is from, the original was from 54. It was a 10-inch. And this is the 12-inch version from 50, I think it's 56. So this was shortly before, but this is on the the yellow and black Norgran label. This is actually the first album that I have on Norgran. This is definitely has that kind of early to mid 50s vibe and sound to it. Nothing too real like fast or real electric, but just some great early guitar playing by a jazz pioneer, Tal Farlow, who really paved the way for many of the great jazz guitarists that would come after him. So I'm not familiar on exactly when this was actually recorded. I would assume this was probably early 50s, maybe somewhere in 52, 53-ish. This has Oscar Pettiford is on the bass, Barry Galbraith is on the guitar as well, and Joe Morello is on the drums. And then the last few tracks on the B side, Oscar Pettiford is replaced by Red Mitchell on the bass, and then Claude Williamson is on the piano. So actually, the last 4 tracks on the album don't have drums, so it's a little bit different of a sound, but really like Tal Farlow's early stuff. This is one of the first ones that I've actually found. And again, another great early jazz guitar pioneer, so was happy to grab that. But this was an online find. This one goes with the Many Facets of Roger, the Roger Troutman one. This was an album that he produced. This is called Zapp. They had a few albums dating, I think this is the first album from 1980, and then I think they had maybe 2 or 3 other albums into the 80s. As you got more into the 80s, it became more electronic and had more of that 80s pop type sound to it, but this one was, I think, before the sound of the 80s kind of came to be. I really loved this after listening to it. Just again, another great kind of dancing groove type album. I saw this on Isaac from The Blind Island on his channel. The video was from a while ago. It was from like a year and a half ago, but was really intrigued by the cover, and he actually did an audio sample of it. The first track, More Bounce to the Ounce, and definitely the sound of the track really works well with the title. Very, again, danceable, very kind of groovy type track. So Discogs, haven't had a chance to listen to it, but really, again, happy to have that. Next two, as I talked about at the beginning of the video, while I was in Rochester, I had the chance to go with my dad to Buffalo. I had gone last summer to check out some of the record stores there, like Revolver Records. That's probably the most well-known store in Buffalo, especially outside of the area. People have heard of Revolver, and they have 3 locations now. The 3rd location just opened up. My opinion, it's the best location. It has the best variety of stuff. I think that's also where the largest inventory is. For those that are maybe familiar with Western New York and Buffalo, or if you're ever taking a trip there, it's only about 15-20 minutes from Niagara Falls, so take a chance to go there. If you have a chance to get away from Niagara Falls, you can go to Buffalo. It's on Transit Road. All the locations are worth checking out, but again, Transit Road one, I think, is had the best selection. That's the one that I've found stuff in the past. But I did come away with 2 records. One of them was from not one of the Revolver locations. It was from a place called Bob the Record Guy. I think he's been open for a while. It's right actually down the street. It's still on Transit in Buffalo. But I found this album in the bins. This is Easy, Grant Green. In some of my more recent videos, I've talked about this being one of the few sessions of Grant Green that I have not found. This was really cheap. This was like $10, described as being VG++. This has Hank Crawford is on the alto sax. You've got as well, let's see who else is on this. Let's see. You've got Buster Williams is on the acoustic and electric bass. Karen Joseph's on the piccolo, flute, and alto flute. Mario Sprouse is on the Rhodes piano. Doug Wilson's on the drums. You've got a larger lineup. John Faddis is on the trumpet, who played with Grant Green on his session for Kudu. Just trying to pick out, let's see if there's any other names. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the other names, but this one is more pop centric. You've got like Easy by the Commodores, cover of that. Just the Way You Are by Billy Joel. You've got that on there. And so you got a few kind of more pop centric tracks, and then there's some that are more like jazz type tunes. But this was his last album. This was recorded in I think this was recorded in 77 and then came out in 78 on the Versatile label. Again, this was the last album. He died in 1979. So what would have come of him if he had lived? I don't know. It's hard to say if he would have come back to some of his earlier type kind of sound, or what direction he would have went. But really glad to have found this. Again, real cheap, but getting very close to completing the non-Blue Note stuff. I think I actually have all of his non-Blue Note stuff. And just kind of completing the Blue Note stuff. Last one did come from Revolver, and this is Soul Sisters. This is Gloria Coleman Quartet featuring Paula Roberts, and this also has Grant Green on the guitar and then Leo Wright on the alto sax. So I'm not as familiar with Gloria Coleman or Paula Roberts, but obviously Grant Green, showing the last one, he's my favorite jazz artist, and then Leo Wright is an excellent alto sax player. Had some sessions on Atlantic in the 60s. Really don't think that he got as much recording time as he should have. I've always really enjoyed his tone. This is from 1963, and this is an original mono. Mike from Hub Tunes here on YouTube showed this one back in like April, and immediately was intrigued by it when he talked about the fact that it had Grant Green on it, and never was able to find a copy. I put it in my want list on Discogs and had an opportunity to grab it. Can't remember the price, but I just kind of waited, and then this just all of a sudden was in when I was flipping through the new arrivals bin. This was towards the end, just out of the blue, really. There was not a lot of really super great stuff. There was some decent stuff. Nothing that I was really looking forward, or sorry, nothing that I was looking for. But this one was towards the end. Great price. Looked really clean. This is the last record that I'm showing, so I'll kind of give those that love to see the labels the chance to see the Impulse label. Great, orange and black. Again, original mono. This one's not a super expensive Impulse release. It is not super easy to find though either. Doesn't really show up a lot. Just again, great one. Very excited about this one. So that's it for the albums that I found this month. Again, pretty large stack for kind of one trip. Got away pretty quick. I bought a few from at the beginning of the trip, and then just as I went, I just continued to amass stuff. Had ordered a few things that were shipped, and kind of that just added to it. But very excited for what I was able to find. Have a lot of music to listen to now, especially as the summer rolls around, having more time. Excited to be able to do that. So please let me know in the comments what you liked. And thank you again to all those that subscribe. Continue to increase the number of subscribers. Just love coming on here talking about especially jazz, but now getting more into some funk stuff as well. But just coming on, making these videos, interacting with people, learning a lot from you guys as well. So thank you again for the support, and I will see you in the next vinyl video. Bye.